Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for May of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I am Julia Mijas in San Francisco.
Well, hey, Taurus, if this is your sun sign, then it's your birthday month, which means all attention goes to you. And that's a wonderful thing. You're due for your yearly birthday reading, where you can find out all about the themes of your own personal year and how they're going to play out and how you can help them play out in the best possible way. You'll find a link to help you get that reading in the YouTube description below. Well, I want to let you know something super exciting, which is that Jupiter is changing signs this month. You'll find a video about that in our May 2022 news playlist, also on our forecast page. But suffice it to say that Jupiter, when it changes signs, will change houses for you and move into the 12th house, which is one of its favorite places to be. Jupiter traditionally rules the 12th house. And this is a house of spirit, and Jupiter, the greater benefic, as we like to call him, or the bringer of many good things, kind of like Santa Claus, when he enters into the 12th house, it's almost like that goodness. It's like having happy angels, happy loving angels looking over your shoulder and smoothing the way for you wherever you go in a general way, not like specific luck, like money luck or relationship luck or career luck, but a luck that's just spread throughout your life, and where when you pray, spirits are listening to you. So that is going to begin this month. And the next thing I want to tell you about is that on May 15th, let's go to May 15th, Ceres is going to move, where did she go? Right here into Cancer. So Ceres is changing signs. Ceres is about good stewardship and healthy habits and good money management too. She's moving into the 3rd house, which is a house of communication. So she's beginning a couple of month period in which you should be practicing good stewardship and building healthy habits in your communication or your learning. So especially if you're engaged in a learning program, this can really help you to get organized. And the last thing I want to tell you about here is that Juno is traveling along through your 11th house in the sign of Pisces. She's going to be there for much of the rest of the year because she's going to go retrograde in this house. And that's going to have a pretty big impact on your social life when it happens, because this is the house of friends. So you can start now to help that process by taking a look at the friends of the couple that you're in. And if you are in a committed relationship, how do your friends mix with your partner's friends? And are you able to gather community around you together? And are there any improvements that might be made in that area? So we'll say more about that as the months go along when Juno does actually go retrograde. Now, Julia, you've got some news about Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And Mercury's going to go retrograde, I think. Is that right?
Oh, that's right, Jamie. Hey there, Taurus. Like Jamie said, we've got Mercury retrograde season definitely in effect for everybody this month. So Mercury is the planet of communication and mentation, and it's in the sign of Gemini, starts the month that way, and that corresponds to your 2nd house. The 2nd house is the house of money. It's the house of your stuff, all the things that you own, your belongings and possessions. So when Mercury is typically in the 2nd house, it usually means our mind is very preoccupied with our stuff and our money. And on May 10th this month, Mercury is going retrograde in your 2nd house. So when Mercury goes retrograde, it's a cycle that happens about 3 times a year. And it's a time of review or redoing and rethinking wherever Mercury happens to be in your chart. So in your house of money, that could mean that maybe things aren't quite adding up with your finances. Maybe you have to kind of review or go over some of your bookkeeping. This transit can also make it a little extra confusing if you're trying to buy or trying to sell right now, because Mercury can have a lot to do with buying and selling too. But on May 21st, we're going to be having Lesser Epiphany Day, and that's when Mercury is exactly conjoined the Sun while retrograde. When it's direct, it's Greater Epiphany Day, so that's going to come later. But during these epiphany days, it can be a time of a little bit of insight into what's going on, especially all the confusion, all the review that might be going on. So you will be getting these insights with your second house kind of matters and issues. So that means you might get a little bit of an insight about your money, how you can grow and expand it, or even maybe a little bit of insight about stuff, the stuff you own, like maybe it is time to sell my car, or maybe it is time to buy a new one. So that's all happening with Mercury this month. The other two important planets are Venus and Mars. I'll start with Venus because she's the planet of art, beauty, and relationships. She starts the month in your 11th house, but it's only there for about a day. Then by May 2nd, she's going to be leaving your house of friends and entering your house of seclusion, and also the ethereal, which is the 12th house. So she's going to stay in the 12th for most of the month. And the 12th house is a house of isolation. It's very hidden. It's also a house that has a lot to do with your subconscious. And it's a very sort of spiritual and ethereal type of place. So with Venus in the 12th house for most of the month, you might feel like withdrawing more socially, because Venus loves kind of in the 12th house. She enjoys feeling pleasure on her own. If you have a partner, maybe you guys just want to hang out and home instead of go out and paint the town red. And Venus in the 12th house might mean that you're drawn to doing some type of charitable work too. Wherever we have Venus is where we find pleasure. And the 12th house is a service-based place. So maybe you donate a little money to a cause that you care about, maybe even anonymously, or maybe you give a helping hand to, say, your partner or somebody else in your life. And then on May 28th, Venus is going to pop into your first house of self. And we're really going to go into that transit in next month's video, but it's a wonderful time for looking good and for dating for the single Tauruses. Then finally, we do have to talk about Mars, the planet of action and activity. Wherever we have Mars, we can be very driven, but we can also run into some frustrations as well. And Mars is going to be hanging out in your 11th house of friends and groups until the 24th. So for the first 3 weeks or so of the month. And with Mars in the 11th, you could be feeling super driven to kind of pursue some long-term goal, because the 11th house is the house of hopes, wishes, and dreams, which essentially means the goals that take a little bit of time to realize in your life. So you might feel very driven towards some long-term goals of yours. Mars in the 11th house can be a time of sometimes competition and irritability with friends or with any groups that you're a part of, like a club, a society, a gamer circle, for example. Maybe if you're a part of any groups like a sports team or you play games with people, things are getting kind of competitive and a little fiery. But a wonderful way and a constructive way to handle Mars in the 11th house is to do some group activity together, where maybe you all have some common cause that you're working towards, like maybe getting your friends together and, maybe cooking a bunch to give that food to charity, or some type of cause where you're all putting in a group effort, or in any of the groups that you're a part of too. Then by May 24th, Mars is going to go into your 12th house for about the last week of the month. And with Mars in the 12th, you might feel a lot more inclined to be working on your own instead of with a group, because the 12th, again, is that kind of isolated place. You might do your best work when you're just sort of away from the prying eyes of everybody else. And Mars in the 12th house can sometimes feel a little itchy and irritated out of nowhere, and for no good reason, because the 12th is such a globalized place. Sometimes little irritations can come up like that.
Well, I have news about the moon activity. The first one is a total lunar eclipse in Scorpio, which is happening right here in your 7th house. And first of all, a total eclipse is pretty intense. A total lunar eclipse is going to be emotionally intense, and any moon in Scorpio would be intense too. So this one's kind of a whopper, and it's happening in your 7th house of partnership, of relationship. So you can definitely expect for there to be strong feelings coming to the surface in your partnerships, possibly on your part, more likely on the part of your partner, around the 15th of this month. And we're calling this one Cradled by Spiritual Action. And if you watch the video for it, you'll see the actual cradle, which is an astrological configuration, which is actually quite supportive. And it takes the stress and the tension of this opposition between the sun and the moon and uses Pluto and Neptune and I think Mars as well to tap that off. So if you raise, which is actually, this is a really good fit for Julia, what you were saying a minute ago about Venus in the 12th house, because Venus in the 12th house takes personal love and raises it to the level of universal love and allows you to access compassion and deep empathy, which I think you're going to need here, Tauruses of the world. I think you're going to need that during this, this eclipse. So the spiritual actions that you might take during this eclipse should be ones that help you to get closer and more intimate with your partner and turn upsets into wins for both of you. The other moon that I want to tell you about is happening on the 30th. And that one is a new moon in the sign of Gemini. It's happening right here in your 2nd house. And that is a house of money. That is a house of finance, as well as possessions, as Julia was saying. So this brings some of that emphasis to that area, even before Mercury, even after Mercury has been there. So when Mercury goes into your 2nd house, as Julia was describing, you'll find yourself really rethinking your finances. And then when the new moon appears there around the 30th, so towards the end of the month, you're going to feel like you're ready to plant some seeds for new beginnings in your finances. So that could be really great, a really great use of all of the rethinking and retrospection that you've been doing during Mercury retrograde. Then the last thing I want to tell you about is that the sun moves into Gemini, and that happens, that's a seasonal change, of course. The sun leaves the season of Taurus, your season, and moves on into the season of Gemini and begins lighting up your 2nd house. And so bringing the spotlight of attention to finances for you. And this is a favorite topic, dear to your heart, shall we say, the topic of wealth building and creating security. And so when the sun moves into your 2nd house, that begins a 30-day period that happens every year, where your good attention put into that area will help things to thrive there. So paying attention to your finances is a really good thing to do during the season of Gemini. Well, Taurus, hope you enjoyed that. You will always find your horoscopes on our website. And when I say horoscopes, I mean if Taurus is your sun sign, you should definitely find out your rising sign, look that up and find your rising sign horoscope because it will work much better. You can find both of your horoscopes on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscopes tab. And you will find the news of the month on the monthly forecast page there. And if you would like a class, there's a classes tab and readings are on offer as well. Until next time, we'll see you on the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.